varied conversations in a bit. We'll also be going to go down on the ground to to Qatar, where our man George Addo Jr. is with the Black Stars team, and will be bringing us up to speed as regards what they're going to be doing between now and when that big game kicks off against Portugal for the very first game in Group H. But joining us virtually also is Nana Agyemang. He's been, been with us throughout the period as we looked ahead with various angles to this qualification story for this FIFA World Cup. Nana, thank you so much for your time. We're glad to have you here on the show.
Thank you very much, Nat. Nice to have been invited on such a important show a day before the World Cup.
Great stuff, Nana. We've seen the qualification process. We've seen our preparatory games. The one against Switzerland is one that some term as one that has given a certain level of cushion and a certain level of hope that Ghana can rise to the occasion. What are your thoughts about that game relative to what we'll be doing against Portugal?
Well, I support that view, actually. I think this was the last game that the coach and his technical team could basically assess the players that they had before them and make a determination as to who the first 11 would be. And I think it was a very good exercise. We excelled above expectation. I certainly, for one, didn't expect the Ghana Black Stars to beat Switzerland. And I think they did a yeoman's job in doing so. Fill them with...
Nana, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying this fixture, I considered was something that was really going to be a mammoth task for the Black Stars. And this fixture was a fixture that basically would ensure that we went into the match against Portugal with head up, or we went into the match against Portugal with our heads down. Fortunately for us, we excelled above expectation. And now we're going into that first match against Portugal with that vim, with that confidence that we can do more than just do well, that we can potentially beat.
Nana, before you go on, I do remember that, after the game against Brazil, you were very critical of the team and its performance, and you were one of the people who disagreed with the fact that the Black Stars did better in the second half. You were of the view that Brazil just took their foot off the pedal. So what changed between then and now?
Well, it's not a view now. It's the fact. We all watched the game. The Brazilians decided not to participate in the second round. They took it easy.
You think so?
And they allowed us to play. It's a fact. Let's watch the game together and you'll see. It's a fact. It's not a fantasy of mine. The Brazilians took their foot off the pedal and they allowed the Ghana Black Stars to play. And on that basis, things looked good. Things looked a little bit better. The scoreline stayed the same basically at the end of the day. And I wasn't disappointed with the scoreline. It was respectable. We were playing Brazil. We weren't playing Nicaragua. We're actually playing Brazil. So that was fine for me. What has changed is that, well, of course, there's a new number one. We've given Salis, we've given a new midfield team an outing. We allowed Semenyo to play. We allowed Barnier to play. These are the things that are new. We allowed Lamptey to cop his first, 90. These are the things that are new. Players who were sitting there idle, not getting the opportunity to play, played. Semenyo scored. Salis was a revelation. He wasn't involved before. I was one of those who was advocating for his inclusion. He's been included and we can see now what he can actually do. So, in fact, a lot has actually changed. And you see, in terms of the mindset when one is playing a friendly, and the Brazil friendly and the Nicaragua friendly, and now coming up to play Switzerland, knowing that it's just days before the tournament, was completely different. It was completely different. In that Nicaragua game, I don't even think anybody was listening to what the coach said. Everybody wanted to get onto the score sheet. Here in this game against Switzerland was completely different. They were tactically disciplined. They were technically disciplined. You heard Barnier when he came off. They said, how did you see the game? How did you see your performance? What did he say? He said, I listened to what the coaches said and I did what they asked me to do. And I think that was the complete difference. That is the biggest change, the overall change from the two friendlies that they played with Brazil and Nicaragua and the friendly that they played with Switzerland. They were given instructions and they worked in accordance with those instructions. That allowed us to net 2 goals and keep the Swiss at bay. And that's why going into the match against Portugal, it's a totally different mindset than it was going into the matches against Brazil and Nicaragua. And that's a huge change. That's a massive change. And I think that the inclusion of players who weren't there before, that is also something that is good as well. We've seen what they can do in the middle of the park. Well, now we have 2 sets of good midfield players. I mean, the game against Nicaragua, it was like, well, okay, we haven't got a second team and we don't have a bench. But now we do have a second team and we do have a bench, most certainly. You saw what happened when just a few players came off the bench, changed the game entirely. And that is something that I believe is good because at the end of the day, you know, people talk about not wanting to be substitutes, but a substitute is as important as the players that start at the end of the day. For me as a coach, having a player on the substitute bench is very, very, very important because at the point where I say, okay, I'd like you to come into this game, I want impact. That's what I want. I want influence on the game when that substitute comes in. And I think with what we've seen now, that almost anyone the coach calls in as a substitute will have impact and will have influence on this Ghana Black Stars team. And so long as they continue to listen and carry out the instructions of the coaches, I think we've got ourselves a much better team than we had when we played Brazil and Nicaragua. So those are the changes for me. I tell you, I'll go one step further and I'll tell you this. You know, the African Cup of Nations is up next year. And I think, 44 years or something since we won. I'll put money down on this one, that this group of players, even though there's 4 players I would like to see join, Painstill, Schlupp, Bernard Tekpete, and there's one other player, I can't recall, his name slips me at the moment, right? We'll win the AFCON.
Abdulaziz Yakubu.
No, it wasn't him actually. It was somebody else on my list. But what I'm saying is that basically with this squad we can win the AFCON, and it's not just one of those hollow we can win the AFCON as we've been doing for the years gone by. Next year with this team, with this squad, plus a couple of more, plus or minus a couple of inclusions, we can win the AFCON next year.
Very, 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 very big statement made here on the JoySports Link by Nana Agyemang. He says that with this kind of squad, we can win the Africa Cup of Nations. But guess what? Look at the time, and we're just 24 hours away from the FIFA World Cup. So the potential AFCON winning side that Nana Agyemang sees, what are they able to do in the FIFA World Cup? That's the reason why I want to get your thoughts on our channels. I'm talking about our WhatsApp line especially, 055-1111997, 055-1111997. I'm going to be getting back to Nana Agyemang in a bit to ask about what he thinks will be the highest point of impact for Ghana at the World Cup in Qatar. But George Addo Jr. is also here with us on the conversation. He's joining us from Qatar. He's on the ground with the Black Stars team. He's been following them around. He watched that game as well against Switzerland. He spoke to most of the fans. He has reactions from them, and we want to pick his thoughts from that angle. George, I want you to start from the level of the fans. I mean, you interacted with so many of them. You saw how they reacted anytime a Black Stars player got the ball. What did it communicate to you even before that game ended? That game against Switzerland, which the Black Stars won 2-0.
Yeah, good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to you. I think, Nat, it is, let me say, a story that I've seen around. Remember that the Black Stars were in Loca, Spain, to play against Nicaragua. They were in Deauville, France, to play against Brazil. And for all the Ghanaians who had the opportunity of seeing the Black Stars at first hand, they would simply schedule a day off. They'll take a day off, come to the stadium, come and support, because they really wanted to see the Black Stars. And so I'd say it was just the same thing in Abu Dhabi as well. A lot of them had to go to work, but after interviewing them, they told me they took the day off, basically, to come into the stadium and come and support the Black Stars because they were sure that they won't make it to the World Cup. And this was just going to be the chance for them to support the Black Stars. So there was a bit of hunger along the travels, and everybody wanted to make it a point to see the Black Stars. That was number one. But number two is what Nana was saying before, that the team is beginning to take shape, and there is a lot of confidence that the team can do something great. And it's another great foundation that we have probably found that we'll have to try and keep this nucleus and continue to build over it. Free Bania coming on to start the game was a special delight there, because I could see the Hearts of Oak fans who were here in Abu Dhabi singing the Hearts of Oak songs. Danlad Ibrahim also had his own set of attraction.
Yeah.
And then the top stars, Thomas Partey, anytime he would even stand out there to warm up, they would be screaming. Mohamed Kudus, Kofi Tre, and Mohamed Salis, who scored a goal. The whole stadium was absolutely buzzing. Semenyo got his goal as well. Everybody was excited.
George,
but
but
they saw.
George, what is it? I mean, these are fans who've traveled to watch the Black Stars. I mean, of previous generations. Yeah. What is it? Because I mean, it really hit me the way the fans received the players, the way they kept urging them on. I mean, I know that the stadium was, almost empty. You get me? So it was the Black Stars fans were the core of the people who were in the stadium.
That's right.
I'm not sure how strong their pitches would be and can overlap, in the ideal match situation. But what is it with these guys, and what is it? Is it some new vibe that we were seeing around the Stars, and what is it?
Yeah, I think that there's generally, and Mr. Point was saying, there's generally a new vibe, and I would put it down to two things. One, I think that in terms of visibility, what has happened after the poor African Cup of Nations performance with beating Nigeria, it really brought a lot of fans back on. Beating Nigeria, because it was such a good opportunity. That AFCON experience, nobody wants to remember, but I think that was the first thing. And the fact that new faces had come into the team, and they were beginning to see that the team was improving. And here in Abu Dhabi, the team really put up a show. In the first 20 minutes, after a few scary moments from Switzerland, they began to put on a show, and the fans kept on going on and on. So after that game, the fans in Doha took it from there. They were in front of the team hotel for 2 solid hours, singing nonstop, waiting for them to come. So I think it's a general feeling, a general good feeling about the Black Stars. And it's no surprise, just that it's been away for a while. But if you look at what happened in 2006 and 2010, 2014, we had an issue there because of the way Brazil went. We didn't qualify in 2018. So the hunger and the fact that the team is beginning to do well has just come back. I always go back to this fact that Ghanaians love their Black Stars. All they want is they have to see the team in good light. They have to see the team playing their hearts out, and they have to begin to see the team showing that they can cause havoc when they're on the pitch. And I think they're just these basic things that are coming together once again. And we're going to see a lot of the fans. I'm very sure we're going to see a lot of the fans. Those who came outside the stadium, outside the hotel yesterday, are definitely going to be coming around. But that's it. The Black Stars have to put up a very good performance against Portugal. That's even if we lose the game, it must be a good performance, because everybody agrees that we've got a great team. And if we keep this nucleus, we're definitely going places.
Definitely going places indeed. And like I mentioned earlier, would love to have your comments as we go along with this conversation. You do have some amount of hope in the kind of impact that we can make from the bench anytime there is that reason to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we must get the first 11 right. But yes, I believe that there's significant dearth of experience there, whether young or not, that can come onto the field of play in the second half, for example, and create the kind of impact and, and boss around the type of influence that is required to get us through that group. I really do believe that, because what I saw against Switzerland wasn't what I saw against Brazil or Nicaragua. It wasn't what I saw even against Nigeria when we played them here at Kumasi and played them in the second leg at Abuja. I didn't see what I saw when we played them when we played the Swiss there on Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday. I didn't see it. So this shows me that we've stepped up a notch, and with a few more inclusions and what have you, and the vibe is now right. I think that, yes, there's a lot to do.
Very well,
but I don't doubt that we can do it.
Before we do a little 360, I just want to ask you the kind of approach you would want to see against Portugal, which will be the first assignment of the tournament.
Well, I think, there must be some form of caution, but at the end of the day, it's the 3 points that we want. So we can't be too cautious. We're not looking for the draw. This must be clear in our mind. We're looking to beat Portugal. That's what we're expecting to do. And so I think 3 in the back, Amati, Jiku, Salisu. I think that's sufficient. Then we'll have 5 going across. For me, I've got Lamptey, Partey, Salis, Tre, and Mensah right across the middle of the park there, because they're quick. They're very quick. The 2 on the outside, Lamptey and Mensah, although they're playing traditional roles as wing backs, they're both able to shoot in and outside the 18-yard box. They're both able to drill a ball very effectively across the face of goal. And I think they can also be the providers of lots of different balls into the box. I think we keep Williams there. I'd like to see him partnered with Semenya, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd like to see those 2 partner at least for the first 45 minutes. I expect a couple of goals with them too in the first 45 minutes. But if not, then I can change. I can roll the dice. I can push Kudos up there. Traditionally, he's not a striker, but he's hungry. He's energetic. He's enthusiastic. He wants to make a name for himself. He wants to add to what he has already done at Ajax. And I don't think we should deny him the opportunity. I'd put him up there so that he has no midfield responsibilities. I'm telling him only one thing: put the ball in the back of the net. That's where I want him to focus. And also Barnier, I also think that, he's a great addition. He's not a prolific goal scorer by any stretch of the imagination in the GPL. We've made a lot of noise for his inclusion, and I think his performance against Switzerland justified those calls. He's not a prolific goal scorer, but for example, he earned us the penalty which wasn't given against Switzerland, and I think there's these little things that he could contribute which could assist us in taking the lead or even stretching our lead further against the Portuguese. So I think he's a good addition. He adds value, and he also can come in. I mean, in real terms, we've listed about 8 strikers, but we don't have 8 strikers. What we've got is Williams, Semenya. We've got Kudus, which is a makeshift striker.
Makeshift striker, yeah.
He's a makeshift striker. And then we have Barnier. The rest are players who cover the middle of the park, who play from the flanks. The Bukharis and the likes, they're all flank men who come in from the flank.
Great stuff. Goalkeeping before we do our 360 through all of the other groups. Goalkeeping.
Well,
Lawrence?
it's got to be Ziggy, isn't it? I mean, where are you going to go now? You can't all of a sudden just say, "Oh, we'll bench him and Dan Ladd will come in," or Manaf Nuruddin. You just can't do that. You don't really change a winning team, to be honest with you. That's one of the golden rules or principles of coaching. You've got a winning team. You stick to a winning team unless there's some injury or something like that. So in terms of goalkeeping, it's Ati right now. It's Ziggy. That's it. That's what we've got, and that's who we should start with. I think there were a couple of balls in about the first 4 to 6 minutes that he flapped at. There was one in particular where he pushed the ball back into play. He wasn't able to push the ball out. He had to push it back into play. But luckily for us, it fell to one of our players and we were able to clear the danger. And you know, I was a bit uncomfortable with his punching because there were a couple of times where I felt that for his height and everything, he should just be able to jump up and catch. But he decided to punch. And I wasn't comfortable with that. But nevertheless, he kept a clean sheet.
Great.
And so it's got to be him.
Okay.
It's got to be.
All right.